It was just a season ago the Calgary Flames finished first in the NHL's Western Conference and ended up just winning a single playoff game. And much like a lot of the West right now, they're very much in the playoff mix with nothing really guaranteed in their division and the wildcard position. It's a bit of a mess. And I know the Flames are certainly going to be looking to maybe add to their team at the trade deadline. So let's bring in our Flames insider, Eric Francis, to help talk about potential needs. So Eric, we'll talk about players in just a second. Let's first start about the actual hole on this team. What is, in your eyes, the biggest weakness on this Flames team right now?
Definitely, it's top six forwards. They're looking for a right winger to either play on that top line with Johnny Gaudreau and Sean Monahan, or play on that second unit where Andrew Mangiapane is playing right now. They would really like to bolster that position with a right-handed shooting forward who's able to score some goals, be physical. You know, ideally it'd be someone who could do it all, but primarily they'd be there to try and add to the offense because this team is not scoring anywhere near the pace it scored at last year.
Yeah, and we'll touch on that in a second. Of the potential players available to fill that hole, who are some that you think might be the most optimal for this team?
Well, there are names out there, and I know this team is loath to kind of go out and get a rental, and quite frankly, I'm not sure the team is good enough for them to go out and extend some futures to get a high-priced rental. But if you are going the rental route, I don't think there's anybody better than Chris Kreider who would fit on that right wing, or maybe JP Pajot, or maybe a Tyler Toffoli. But there's one name to me that sticks out above the rest as the guy who checks all the boxes in terms of who and what they want on that right wing in a top six role. And to me, that's Josh Anderson. And I don't know if he's available. I think it'd be foolish if Columbus even contemplate the notion of trading him, but he's a guy whose name has been out there for the last 2-3 months, even though he's been injured for the last 9 weeks. To me, he's big, 6'3", 225 pounds. He can fight if he needs to. He can muck it up. He had 27 goals last year. He's got finish. He's a Tom Wilson light is the way a lot of people describe him. Yeah. And the Calgary Flames, they need more moxie, and he could bring it in spades.
And you wonder, though, with Columbus being as injured as they are as well, if they hold on to a guy like Anderson, what do you think that would cost to try to pry him away from Columbus right now?
Well, you'd be looking at least at a first rounder and probably a top prospect as well. And again, maybe the Flames don't have the appetite for that. And nor do I really think that the Columbus Blue Jackets should have the appetite to trade a guy as unique and big as Josh Anderson and multifaceted. But again, where there's smoke, there's often fire. And, his name's been out there a lot. And he's a risk as well because he's been out, like I said, for 9 weeks and I still don't know when he's going to rejoin the team. And we're looking at 20, 25 games left for most teams. Do you want this guy to kind of work his way back into a lineup on a new team? It's a big risk, but I think the upside would be huge if it paid off.
What about defense-wise? I mean, they're a little banged up right now with Travis Hamonic out. There are a couple defensemen that are set to hit the UFA market. Do you think there's any potential move there to bolster up that blue line right now?
Absolutely. I think that's a very real possibility. Yeah. They said they would revisit the Mark Giordano hamstring injury, week to week, but I'd be surprised if it was, if he was back anytime in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I'd be very surprised. Travis Hamonic's another situation where it's very much up in the air in terms of how long he'll be out. Depending on the status of those injuries, and only the team knows pretty much when they're going to come back, they may act on that as well, because right now their depth at the blue line is really being tested. They've got 2 guys up from the farm, and if you're going into the playoffs or getting in a big stretch run with 2 guys from the farm playing, 12, 14 minutes a night, you could be in a lot of trouble.
How much of this would be a different conversation if Johnny Gaudreau was just kind of the Johnny Gaudreau we had seen for the last few years? It feels like he's been fighting it almost all season long, Eric.
Yeah, it's a great question. Everybody in Calgary seems to think that, this team goes as Johnny Gaudreau goes, and he hasn't been going this year anywhere near where he was last year when he had 99 points. I think he was tied for 6th in the league with Nathan MacKinnon. MacKinnon's gone one way in terms of his progression, and Johnny Gaudreau has gone the other. And you can almost see it, in the standings of those 2 teams, incidentally. So, yes, if Johnny Gaudreau could pick up his game, but, part of the big problem with Johnny Gaudreau getting going is the fact that they can't seem to find a right winger to play with him and Sean Monahan. And so it's a bit of a chicken and the egg thing. If they could get someone who would fit in there, then that could really help elevate Johnny Gaudreau's game, theoretically.
Well, they're in the mix right now, but a lot of teams in the West can say that. We'll see if the Flames make a move to put them over the top. Eric, thanks so much for this.
Cheers.